Egypt is increasingly becoming a hub for illegal migration to Europe. This is Alexandria, one of the port cities of the Nile Delta. Many migrants and would-be migrants leave from this shore. They take fearful risks to cross the Mediterranean Sea. They've been driven by wars in Syria, Iraq and Darfur to desperation. The UN Refugee Agency says the number making the attempt year on year has doubled. Our correspondent went to speak with some who failed. They are kept in a processing center in Alexandria. Amara Khalil from Darfur was stopped at sea by Egyptian authorities 2 weeks ago with her 4 children. She says nobody helped me in Darfur, nobody stood by me there. So I took my children and I came here. I submitted my papers to the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights here in Egypt, and I went to their offices several times, but I did not get any help. Not even news about my missing husband in Darfur. Nagam Raskala also left her husband in Baghdad. He was ill. She took her children with her. She says, I endured this agony, this sea voyage, risking my life and the lives of my children to be rid of the life of poverty and war in Iraq, and to seek treatment for my son and my husband. But none of these hopes have come true. Migrants may be forced to take a deadly gamble. This video shows divers retrieving bodies. On the 10th of September, just as one terrible example, an illegal migrant ship with 500 on board was deliberately sunk by the smugglers. There were almost no survivors. Those who lived said the traffickers did it because the passengers refused to transfer to an even smaller vessel. Wala al-Barkawi and her 2 sons left their home in Damascus with tourist visas 1 year ago. Her husband got on that doomed ship at Damietta, also in the Delta, in a bid to reach Europe and later bring his family over. She has not heard from him. She says, I phoned the smuggler. He told me my husband had died and I collapsed. I want to be certain. I want to know what happened to him. I remembered that the smugglers were in arguments about the boat from the beginning. There were lots of problems with it, and my husband witnessed that conflict between the smugglers themselves. The Egyptian authorities recognize there are illegal trafficking rings operating from Egypt. A passenger pays between 1,600 euros and 3,200 euros. Syrian refugee Rasha Al-Masri tells us how her money went for nothing. We stayed at sea for a week, suffering terribly through black days in the middle of the sea. Each day the smugglers told us we're leaving tomorrow, and they kept bringing more immigrants to the boat and filled it with more. Eventually the engine broke down and we could not go anywhere. Then an Egyptian warship caught us and brought us here. We found a trafficker in Alexandria who agreed to talk to us. Her family owns several fishing boats. She explains how they work. The smuggler goes to another country and buys a boat there, under the guise of fishing. Following what's called the departure process from that country to another, they stop the boat at sea in a specific area. Then they start bringing the immigrants out to it. The smugglers come to these places where there are no border guards with small boats and take the immigrants to the big boat, which is out in the open sea. Our correspondent sums up. They left their countries after losing hope for a normal life, he says, and they set their sights for the promised beaches of Europe. But the wind often blows their ships, their wishes, off course, so they end up drowned or missing, or tightly tied up like their dreams.
Euronews, شواطئ الإسكندرية.